Welcome to the Debrief, where we talk with the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the headlines they're covering this week and where the story's going next. I'm Sarah Westwood, and I'm here today with Editor-in-Chief Hugo Gurdon. And Hugo, in your column this week, you write about two sort of unconnected pieces of news. One is a development in the trial of Democrat lawyer Michael Sussman. One is the record turnout in the Georgia primaries, and about how you view them as connected by a theme. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I view them as connected by the theme of Democrats willing to make extraordinary and extreme allegations against Republicans to discredit Republicans in their own pursuit of power. In federal court recently, it was shown absolutely clearly that Hillary Clinton was behind at least a substantial portion of the collusion, the Russia collusion hoax involving Donald Trump. Robbie Mook, her campaign manager from back in 2016, confirmed that he and others went to Hillary Clinton with this idea of leaking to the press this concocted idea that there was some special link between Trump and the Alpha Bank. She approved that, and then after it was leaked to a left-wing news organization, she amplified it by tweeting out that computer scientists had found a leak, found a connection to a secret server that made this connection. This isn't true. It didn't persuade the FBI. It didn't persuade voters to vote for Clinton, but what it did do is start years of allegations that this was part of an effort to undermine American democracy. The other point that I was making, or the other incident that I was making, was the allegations by Stacey Abrams and other Democrats that there were really dreadful moves by Republicans, specifically by Kemp, the governor of Georgia, to suppress minority voting, with people being removed from voter rolls, with the actions being taken to clean up the voter rolls. Then, just in the last primary, there was a 168% increase in early voting. And the idea that voting had been suppressed was disproved by the record turnout in voting. And the point that I wanted to make was that both of these things were about suggesting that Republicans could only win elections by cheating. And of course, both of those things have done considerable damage to people's faith in the American democratic system.
Democrats are sort of continuing to try to portray Republicans as sort of enemies of democracy. That's a tactic that they've tried in the Virginia governor's race. They're clearly going to try that again in the midterms. Do you think that revelations like this sort of undermine the credibility of that argument?
Well, I think that these arguments have long been incredible. They are implausible. Unfortunately, they do have an influence on people's thinking. And the Democrats in general do not either withdraw or apologize for making these allegations. You know, when Stacey Abrams was asked by a reporter just recently after the record turnout whether or not this rather undermined her claim that voting had been suppressed, she produced a kind of word salad about correlation and causation, and that actually record turnout was a way of counteracting suppression. There was no admission that, in fact, she lost fair and square in 2018 to Brian Kemp, and that the 2021 act in Georgia that Brian Kemp signed into law protected voting access, whilst at the same time protecting against voter fraud. The allegation just sort of hangs out there. It continues to be pushed by Stacey Abrams and Democrats in spite of the facts.
And finally, do you think there'll be any sort of consequences for Democrats for, now that a lot of these lies, as you mentioned, have been exposed? Or do you think that they're going to continue to make these distortions?
There will be consequences. I think that, like the boy who cried wolf, eventually these allegations will not be listened to. And I think that quite a lot of voters are now sort of getting wise to the fact that the most revolting accusations of, being anti-democratic and racist and having all sorts of really unpleasant motives that the Democrats hurl against Republicans don't stand up to the test of time and don't stand up to scrutiny. I think that those allegations will continue. There seems to be, one of the things is if you're not withdrawing allegations, you're not apologizing when you're shown to be wrong, the probability is that you plan to do it some more.
Well, Hugo, thank you so much for being
you.
here today. You can get more writing from Hugo and the rest of the commentary team at washingtonexaminer.com.